it got really cold here for the first time this week, and it made me want to sit down and draw some snowflake designs. If you're familiar with my work, you know that I do a lot of folksy inspired things, so I thought it would be fun to bring that to snowflake designs. It's very whimsical and playful, and here are the 5 that I came up with, and then I'm going to teach you how to draw one. It's the same basic process for every single one, but they can look very different. If you are new to Procreate, new to illustration, or just new to using the symmetry tools much, this will be the perfect project for you. So this one came out quite folksy. I love just the blue and red festive colors. It could be just generally wintry as well. This one leans a little more Christmassy with the Christmas tree inspired branches and a very symmetrical snowflake design and minor kind of knit inspired Christmas sweater elements. This one, I just love how whimsical and fun it came out. So this is the one we're going to draw together today. It's nice and easy, super adorable, and I think you'll have fun making it with me. This one was a little more botanical inspired. And then this one, I just had fun playing with the symmetry tools. It actually came together super quick. It's a little less snowflakey than the other ones, but I still love how it came out. So like I said, we're going to draw this one together. All you really need is a monoline brush, your iPad, and Apple Pencil. I'm just going to start with a square canvas, and then I'm going to show you how I kind of pre-planned mine. So all I did is make this little snowflake shape, and to make this so that everything was perfectly aligned, on a new layer with a monoline brush, I just took a light color, and if you hold your finger down, you will get a perfect line. So then I just duplicated that. I rotated 145 degrees, duplicate, rotate 45 degrees, and one more time. And then I had kind of my basic snowflake shape. So that's how I created that first part. And then I wanted that centered on my canvas. So I went to drawing guide, edit drawing guide, and I took my grid size all the way up to max. And then I can kind of, you see you get those yellow lines when you're perfectly snapped into place. And now I know that I'm perfectly centered. So that's just gonna make me kind of a little template. So I'm gonna rename that layer template. And I'm gonna tap the N and reduce the opacity just so I can see it enough. And now I'm gonna add a new layer. And now we're gonna turn on symmetry. So I'm gonna click edit drawing guide again. I'm gonna go to symmetry options, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave it on radial. If yours is on one of the others, just go ahead and switch to radial. And now I am gonna grab just like a super light pinky color. I didn't wanna do white solely because then my snowflake, like I printed it out so I can reference it while I'm drawing. Instead of having my candy cane be white and red, I did kind of a light pink color so that it will show up on white. So to make that part, it's super easy. I just brought my brush size up so it's nice and thick. And then you can see how it automatically goes. And I want to stop about the end of my template line that I created. So about right there. And if you're unhappy with it, 2-finger tap to undo, start over, and just tap that finger down to get a nice, simple line. And now I'm gonna add a new layer. Now I can just click drawing assist there, and I'll show you the clipping mask part later in case you're new to that. So now I'm gonna add my stripes. Let's see, so I just have to do one. Whoops, actually, that's a lie because I have symmetry, that kind of symmetry on. So for this one, what I did, turn off drawing assist, and I'm just gonna create my stripes. I'm gonna go a little bit smaller, just by a little. I'm just gonna create some arcs and eyeball going the same angle. And now you can see if I tap clipping mask, it confines it to the layer below it. So to get it to all 3 sides easily, I ended up just swiping left, clicking duplicate, and then grab your arrow tool. And then I'm gonna flip vertical and slide it down into place. But I decided that I wanted the lines to go the opposite way. So I'm just gonna click flip horizontal, and then Again, just eyeball it so it's about the same distance. And then you can just tap and merge those two down, swipe left, duplicate, use your arrow tool, and you can tap it, rotate 45 twice. And so now we have our main candy cane. So then you can merge those down as well. If you want to be able to edit the colors of this later, you might want to leave it as is. Otherwise, you could merge those down as well. I am going to group them so how I did that here, I just swiped right on both layers till they're highlighted and then click group. And then I'm going to rename that candy cane. And that'll just help me remember what's on that layer as we get more and more layers. All right, and now we will turn Drawing Assist back on for this next layer. And I'm gonna grab a dark green color. You can use any color you want, but we are drawing some holly leaves, so a green color is probably good. I'm gonna make my brush smaller. And again, you see we have that template line. And so I'm just going to draw in some holly leaves. That's not bad. All right, and then I'm gonna drag and drop my color. And I want those to be, actually we're gonna build on it so it won't really matter, but just for visually now, I'm gonna put those behind. And then I'm gonna add a new layer on top of that. And I'm gonna click, I'm not gonna click Drawing Assist yet because I wanna draw right on the line. So I'm gonna grab a lighter green and make my brush smaller. Actually, let's do this after we add the flower. That way we're not overlapping. Okay. Change of plans. All right, so we've got a new blank layer. Let's go ahead and draw our little poinsettia. I am gonna turn Drawing Assist on, and then I am going to take a nice bright red, and I just wanna draw a flower shape that goes kind of like a little more pointed at the top, like that. I'll bring it to the top so you can see. And then I'm gonna fill it in. And now we are going to duplicate it and tap your bottom one and just click rotate 45. Now, to easily make it a darker shade of that red, I'm gonna click this little magic wand icon, click Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and I'm just gonna turn the brightness down a little. So I'm gonna go to about 40% there. And I actually want this one, I think, to be the rotated one and this one to be the vertical because it's easier to see the red and the colors look nicer together on top of the candy cane. And now I'm actually going to duplicate the darker one, bring it to the top, and now I'm just gonna resize it a bit so it forms the center of my flower. I'm actually gonna make that one rotated as well. I'm gonna go a little smaller here. Whoop. That's pretty good. Maybe a tiny bit smaller. And then just kind of center it. All right, so that's the basis of our poinsettia, but we also want to add some green leaves in a center. So for the center, I'm just going to add a new layer again. I am going to grab a yellow color. I'm going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to draw a dot right in the center. And then now I'm gonna turn on Drawing Assist. I'm gonna do one more dot on each corner, and then you can see how it immediately brings in all four for me. I'm gonna add a new layer below that and grab just kind of a white or almost white color. Make your brush really small. And then I'm just going to use the guidelines to make a nice straight line, just like that. All right, so now let's add some leaves behind our flower. So I'm gonna add a new layer down here. I'm gonna use the same green for now. I might change it, but I'm gonna kind of fill in the space here. I think when I drew this the first time, my leaves were a little skinnier at the bottom. So if you go to your leaf layer and use your eraser tool, you can kind of make your, more like that. And then we have a little more room for our poinsettia leaves. All right, so now I'm gonna make that a little bigger again. I'm going to turn on Drawing Assist once again. I'm just gonna make kind of little leaves shaped like that. One more time. I'm just being nitpicky here. All right, and I need those all to be closed so that I can color them in. So I'm gonna turn off my top layers real quick and just kind of close that shape in. You can do it by going down like this. You can do it by just closing it off, just anything that allows us to close it off so that we can color it in. All right, so now we've got the main part, and I still want that to have a wee bit more space, I feel like, than it has. On my original design, I had it with a bit more space. So again, I'm gonna go to my leaf layer, and I'm just going to shave a bit more off. That just gives me a little more breathing room to work with. Same thing, if your leaves came out too thick, you can go to that layer and shave a little off with a smaller brush like that. And we're looking pretty good. So now when I would get to this point on each one, I just wanted to kind of fill in the space to make it look really fun. So what I ended up doing is adding a new layer one more time. And again, I am going to click Drawing Assist. I'm gonna use the dark green color again on a small size. And I'm just going to, whoops, I'm on the eraser. I know that I'm gonna kind of wanna have a berry here. So I'm gonna draw an arc there. And don't worry about it overlapping, we'll drag it to the bottom. And then I wanna have an arc. All right, let me redo that. I'm gonna draw an arc kind of here and here. All right, so that is good for now. We might redraw it later, but we just kind of wanna get our position in. So again, I'm gonna add a new layer and I'm gonna click Drawing Assist. And this time I'm gonna take the red color and I'm gonna make a nice big berry about right there. And then I'm gonna make a pink berry. This took me some time to decide colors. It's always the longest part of my process, but there. All right, so I think those lines work pretty well, but what I'm gonna do is highlight both. So I just swipe right, and then I'm gonna bring the berries to the bottom so I can see a little better. I've been bad about naming my layers too. Usually if you follow my tutorials, you know I'm kind of neurotic about naming my layers so I can keep up with many of them. We are almost nearing the end of our layers, so we don't have a ton, but usually I either group and name or I rename as I go. All right, so I do see now that I kind of want my stems to be even thinner. So I am going to add a new layer. I just tap the N and reduce the opacity. I'll use it as a little guideline, but I am going to redraw them. So I'm gonna click Drawing Assist on that layer. And this time I'm gonna make my brush the smallest it can go. And then again, I'm just gonna kind of draw two archy kind of shapes in there. So if you draw an exaggerated arc and hold it down, and then you click Edit Arc, you can play with the blue dot lines. And sometimes that's the easiest way if you wanted a slight arc shape. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna delete that out. I could probably go even a little thinner, but that's not bad. And we don't really need our template anymore because we've got all our main pieces in. So we need to go back and add some details to our holly and then some little filler details. So I'm gonna go back to my holly layer. I'm gonna add a new layer above it, and I am going to grab a really light green color. And then my monoline is super small, so I'm gonna leave that. Let's go ahead and turn on Drawing Assist. So this time I want my line to try to be right on the center. That actually came out really good. So otherwise it'll be thicker, but that worked pretty well. And then you can always click Edit Line and play with that too. So you see if you get off the line because we have symmetry on, it's gonna get weird. If you stay right on the line, it'll stay as a single line. So then I'm just gonna draw a couple more arcs. I'll make this one smaller, and then, actually let me redo that. I'm gonna kind of stay with the center of the leaves. So this one, that one, that one. I think in my original design, my arcs were a little bit higher, which I prefer. So that's why we have so many layers. It makes it really easy to go back and adjust. So now what I would usually do here is just, whoops, 2-finger tap to undo. I want to erase part of this. So I'm gonna go on an eraser. I just wanna make my second part of my holly leaf a little higher. That. And then I'll come back to my detail layer. That gives me a little more room to make an arc like that. Again, that's just being a little nitpicky. And sometimes I would draw like this would be my sketch version, and then I'd completely redraw this whole thing if I felt like I needed to. All right, so we have those fun little details in. So now let's add some sparks. So I might group those again and call that holly leaves. And now I am going to add some sparks. You can draw them by hand if you want. I usually use my Stardust tool, and I pick my favorite stamp. I am gonna use a bright blue color this time. And this time I did not turn on symmetry. I just kind of eyeballed where I wanted things to go. So I knew that I kind of wanted to think about balance, and I'm gonna do 4 big ones, and then I'm just gonna start thinking about where to place some smaller ones. And then I am gonna take a lighter blue, maybe even that light, and then I'm gonna go back to a monoline brush at a small-ish size and add in some dots as well. And this again, I'm always thinking about balance. Where can I make my piece have a little more interest? And these are very simple details, but they still stand out and help make it playful. So that is about what I did for mine. And then the final thing I did is add some highlights to my berries. And again, I did that manually as well. If the lines of the symmetry start to get distracting for you, you can always come to your wrench tool and toggle them on and off, just like that. So I'm gonna turn them off for a moment. And I've got the basis of my snowflake all done, but I do wanna add a little more detail. So I'm gonna rename this Sparks. It's really hard to see anything on that layer, so that's when it becomes extra important. And actually, I've got my berries down here. So I'm gonna do a layer above them. And then again, I'm just gonna grab a white or almost white color, a really small monoline brush, and I'm just gonna manually add in some highlights. Sometimes I will think about where the sun source is. So if my sun is coming that way, like that. And then usually on my bigger berries, I'll do a little arc and a dot, and then on my little berries, just a little arc. It's a simple detail, but I think it makes it extra fun. And then there you have it. That's my whole snowflake. And then if I wanted to export it to use, I would turn the background off. And then I'm just gonna tap my wrench icon, share, and share it as a PNG with a transparent background. And then you can use it as clip art. You could put it on your holiday card. You could turn it into a cute little sticker, whatever you want to do with it. So in the blog post, you can see pictures of all of these if you want to try to recreate them. For some of them, I've used stamps from like my folk art kit or my playful embellishments. Like the center here for this one is my playful embellishments kit has 3 sets of brushes within it. So the embellishments, the ornaments, and the flourishes. I used an ornament. Which one did I use? Oh, I combined a few, that's right. So actually, nope, I used this one. So you can see that stamp if I make a new layer up here. And
is there something else I can help with?
Oh, my Siri thinks I'm talking to her. So if I take that stamp and size it down, you can see that's what formed the center of my snowflake. And then I just kind of worked out from there with some crescents and some berries and then more folk art heart stamps and leaves. And it ended up as a really fun design. So those ornaments, if you have that brush kit, can be a good starting point for making some of the centers or legs of your snowflakes. And then again, I used different Stardust brushes to fill in space there. This one happens to be a folk art stamp right there. The rest I just used a monoline brush. This I did from scratch, and then I used a Stardust in the center and then as filler. And this one was just from scratch. So I want to show you something really quick for this one that's really fun when you make like the blue icicle-ish looking one. So if you have, let me just grab a new square. And if I turn on my drawing guide again, edit drawing guide, I'm gonna make sure it's radial. And let's say I grab a blue color and I want a monoline brush. All I did was start at the center here and just kind of go like this a few times, and it ended up coming out really fun. That's not exactly what I did, but something like that. You can play with that a lot and you end up with that. That's how I did that light blue one. So I got it a little thinner and then, you know, it just kind of came out on my first try. So that's kind of a fun thing you can play with as well for creating wavy snowflake lines and things like that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you post it on Instagram, I would love to see it. You can tag me at @ByDawnNicole. And I hope you have fun creating lots of snowflakes in this style. I feel like the possibilities are truly endless.